Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be unboxing, taking a first look, and reviewing the WowGo 2S Max electric skateboard, which is the updated version of one of my favorite budget electric skateboards, the WowGo 2S Pro. So jumping straight into the unboxing, it comes very well packaged just like the 2S Pro, and then you've got the 2S Max right on top, and right out of the box you can see a couple aesthetic changes on this board compared to the 2S Pro. Jumping into the accessories, they include all of the standard things that you'll see with all budget electric skateboards. There's a sticker pack and an instruction manual for the board. There's also a standard electric skateboard charger, which is a 2 amp charger. That's the average speed on these budget electric skateboards. They've also included this Allen key tool to swap out the hub sleeves or do any maintenance on your board if you need to. And then there's the remote controller, which is the exact same one seen on the WowGo 2S Pro. I actually quite like this remote controller. It's very sleek and fits well in the hand, and it actually feels high quality compared to a lot of the budget electric skateboard remotes out there. It also has a really nice screen. We also received the 2-in-1 version, which includes these 105mm honeycomb wheels and the accompanying rear sleeves to fit on the hub motors. With the unboxing done, I'm just going to quickly go over the components used on the WowGo 2S Max, starting with the deck. The deck is pretty much the exact same deck seen on the WowGo 2S Pro. It's 38 inches long and 8.5 inches wide. The deck is made of 8 layers of Canadian maple, bamboo, and fiberglass. It has a very shallow concave on it as well. One thing they've added to the Max version over the Pro is this new shock absorbent grip tape, as opposed to the Pro, which only has regular grip tape. This should help dampen some of the road vibrations on the board. They've also redone the top grip tape pattern and the bottom of the deck's graphics, which I think look absolutely excellent on this board. The trucks are 8-inch wide 50-degree RKP trucks with 85 durometer barrel bushings. The rear truck is very similar to the front except it holds the hub motors. The stock wheels are the same 90 by 54mm 78A durometer flywheel clone wheels with the WowGo decal on them. And then the rear wheels are hub motors. The hub motors are the biggest upgrade on the 2S Max from the 2S Pro. The 2S Pro comes with 500 watt hub motors, but the 2S Max comes with 550 watt hub motors for a total power upgrade of 100 watts. This board uses the very common split enclosure setup, with a front enclosure containing the battery and the rear enclosure containing the ESC. Both of the enclosures on this deck are super sleek looking and well designed, and for a budget board, I've been really impressed with how WowGo has done with making these enclosures look. Taking a deeper dive into what each enclosure contains, the rear enclosure contains the ESC, which is the Hobbywing ESC version 4.0. The Hobbywing ESC is my favorite ESC on these budget electric skateboards, so I'm very pleased to see that WowGo used this on their board. A subtle feature that I noticed on the rear enclosure is this small heatsink, which will help the ESC perform as best as it can. The rear enclosure also contains the power switch to the board, which glows red when the board is on. The front enclosure contains the battery, like I said earlier, which is a 12S2P 216 watt-hour battery. The charge port's also located on this front enclosure, facing the inside of the deck, protected from the elements. And that's it for the components used on the WowGo 2S Max. So with the unboxing done and all of the components on this board done, we're going to jump into a full in-depth review of the WowGo 2S Max electric skateboard. Like all of our other review videos, this one will be split up into categories detailing all of the various specs on the WowGo 2S Max. Before we do that though, we're going to show you guys how you can swap out the rear hub motors in the 2-in-1 version so you can transition between the 90mm street wheels and the 105mm honeycomb crossover wheels. Then we will go into the top speed, the range, the hill climbing, etc. on both sets of wheels individually. Swapping out the sleeves on the hub motors is actually quite simple. There are 5 bolts that hold the hub motor cap in place. Use the Allen key tool provided with the WowGo 2S Max to undo these. It might be a little bit tricky as they are held in place with Loctite. Once all 5 bolts are undone, you'll be able to slide off the rear sleeve and place the new sleeve on. You can then place the cap back on the honeycomb wheel and fasten all 5 bolts again using the Allen key tool. You can then repeat the exact same process for your other wheel, and just like that, you've changed out the sleeves on your WowGo 2S Max. Changing out the front wheels is the exact same as any other wheel, so no explanation is needed there. So now getting back into the review, the first topic that I'm going to discuss is the top speed on the WowGo 2S Max, which is one of the specs that has been upgraded from the WowGo 2S Pro to the WowGo 2S Max. WowGo advertises that the top speed on the WowGo 2S Max is 45 kilometers an hour, or roughly 28 miles an hour, which is an upgrade of 5 kilometers an hour over the WowGo 2S Pro. On my top speed test, I was able to hit 45 kilometers an hour according to the remote on both 90mm wheels and the 105mm wheels. However, the remote doesn't calibrate for the 105mm wheels, so I actually GPS tracked the speed to see how fast I was going on those. According to the Speedometer app, my top speed with the 105mm wheels was 30.2 miles an hour, so the board actually goes a little bit faster than they advertise if you're using the bigger 105mm wheels. Essentially, you can expect to get 45 kilometers an hour or right around 28 miles per hour with the 90mm wheels, and you'd expect to get a little bit faster on the 105mm wheels with that extra big diameter. Second up, we have the range, and WowGo advertises that the range on the 2S Max with the 90mm wheels is 23 kilometers or 14.2 miles. With the 90mm wheels on my range test, I was able to get 21 kilometers or right around 13 miles. With the 105mm honeycombs, they advertise that the range is 16 kilometers. I was able to get a little bit more than that at 18 kilometers or right around 11 miles. So depending on which wheels you use, you'll get a different amount of range, as the bigger wheels do use a little bit more than the smaller ones. In both tests, we were riding the boards pretty aggressively, so I would say you can get even more range if you ride a little bit more conservatively than we did for our range tests. On the street, it's safe to say that you could get up to 23, maybe even 25 kilometers or right around 15 miles on a single charge, and with the honeycombs, you could probably get up to around 20 kilometers on a single charge or right around 13 miles. If you look at the board being just $450 with the stock 90mm wheels, the range is really solid. When you consider that with the honeycomb wheels, it's $570, the range does sound like it's a little bit on the lower side. However, you do get 2 sets of wheels, so it's a little bit misleading. I'd say that the range is good for a $450 budget board, but if you're getting the 2-in-1 board and you're spending $570, the range is a little bit lower compared to the $600 to $650 boards out there on the market. The third category that I have up is the hill climbing ability of this board. And being a hub motor electric skateboard, it's already set up to not be particularly good at hill climbing. Hub motors just simply don't have the same torque and power as belt-driven electric skateboards. Nonetheless, for a hub motor budget electric skateboard, I found the WowGo 2S Max to be one of the better ones out there. I compared this to the WowGo 2S Pro to see if I could see the difference in those upgraded hub motors, and it's really hard to notice the difference. If you have 2 riders that are the same weight and you take them up the same hill, you can tell that the WowGo 2S Max has the edge slightly. However, it's super close, and unless you're really paying attention, you can't tell the difference in those upgraded hub motors. The 105mm honeycomb wheels are also decent for hill climbing, though you can definitely tell that the 90mm wheels are much better at it due to their smaller size. If you are looking for a board that is good at hill climbing, I wouldn't recommend the WowGo 2S Max or any hub motor electric skateboard for that matter. If you're looking for a budget hub motor electric skateboard, the WowGo 2S Max is one of the more solid options as far as hill climbing goes compared to all of the other budget hub motor electric skateboards. Fourth up, we have the acceleration and the braking of the WowGo 2S Max, which is its greatest strength as a budget electric skateboard. Oftentimes with these budget electric skateboards, you'll get boards that don't have very good control. There are 2 main things I've observed across a lot of budget boards, and those are dead zones on remotes and non-uniform throttle curves where it's really strong at the beginning and then drops off once you get into higher speeds. The WowGo 2S Max, on the other hand, is the complete opposite of that. The brakes are very strong, smooth, and intuitive. They feel reliable and make you feel safe on this board. The same thing goes for the acceleration. It's nice and reliable and smooth. The acceleration isn't as strong as it would be on a belt-driven electric skateboard, but for a hub motor electric skateboard, it's one of my more favorite acceleration curves. The board has 4 speed modes, all of which are super intuitive and easy to ride on, making it easy for beginners to gradually improve how they ride and work their way up to turbo. With all of this being said, it's important to consider the context that I'm saying all of this information under, and that is for budget hub motor electric skateboards. I think this board is great. If you're looking for a board that's extremely punchy, this thing is never going to be great for drag racing, and belt drives are always going to win over these hub motor electric skateboards. Fifth up, we have the ride feeling of the WowGo 2S Max, which is pretty much identical to the WowGo 2S Pro. The deck is narrow at only 8.5 inches, so if you have bigger feet, it's definitely a struggle to find out the correct foot positioning. Even though it's on the smaller side, I think it's the perfect size for a budget compact board like this because it makes the board portable, and it also feels nice and nimble. Another important aspect to the ride feeling is the concave of the deck, which, as I mentioned earlier, is pretty shallow. Personally, I like a little bit more concave in my boards to make me feel locked in, but this board is plenty comfortable and I haven't had any issues with it. As far as comfort and smoothness go on the WowGo 2S Max, with the 90mm wheels, it's alright. For a budget electric skateboard, it's pretty good compared to most. The deck is decently flexy, but not super flexy, which does absorb some of the vibrations, but the rear hub sleeves are pretty thin, so if you're going over very bumpy roads or roads that aren't well maintained, you're going to feel them on this electric skateboard. If you're on a smooth road though, the board feels super smooth and comfortable and is great to ride. With the 105mm honeycomb wheels, the ride feeling is a little bit improved as the urethane on those rear hubs is a little bit thicker, but it's not all that much smoother on these rough roads. The one thing that they are better for is overtaking potholes or any big cracks in the road, as they are bigger in diameter. As far as stability versus carviness goes, I found this board to be the perfect balance. The 50-degree trucks are stable enough to get me to 30 miles an hour on the 105 honeycombs, but the board is also plenty fun to carve around and ride when I'm just trying to go for a cruise. In conclusion, as far as comfort goes, it's probably one of the better hub motor electric skateboards out there. It's not as good as a belt drive, but for these budget hub motor boards, it's up there as being one of the best. The final category that I have is off-roading with the 105mm honeycomb wheels. And these wheels definitely aren't made for off-roading, but they are able to be used on compact dirt and grass. If you miss a turn, for example, and you need to go on the grass or dirt to avoid falling off your board, these wheels will get you over any sort of obstacle in the way. On the grass and the dirt, the traction is decent. It's obviously not a very comfortable ride as these wheels aren't very soft like a pneumatic, but they get over all the obstacles and provide decent traction to keep you going through grass if you need to. While taking this board off-road through the grass and the dirt is lots of fun, I wouldn't recommend getting this board if that's what you're looking to do with your e-skate. I would definitely recommend looking into a board with AT pneumatic tire compatibility. So here are my concluding thoughts on the WowGo 2S Max electric skateboard. We've been sent the 2-in-1 in this video, which sells for $570. I don't think that's overpriced considering you're getting 2 sets of wheels, but I do think there are some better belt drive options for just a little bit more. If you're just looking at the $450 street wheel version with the 90 mils, I think this is a fantastic budget electric skateboard. It's got a great top speed of around 28 miles an hour on the 90mm wheels, a range of anywhere from 12 to 15 miles. It does decently on hills, and the throttle control is excellent and very intuitive, especially for beginners. If you're a beginner looking to get into e-skate or you're looking for a budget hub motor electric skateboard, I would definitely recommend taking a look into the WowGo 2S Max. That's it for our review of this board. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, let us know in the comment section below. If you guys are interested in learning more about the WowGo 2S Max, we will also leave a link to this board in the description below. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for lots of other electric skateboard reviews and DIY electric skateboard content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next video.